guys, it's been a while. That means it's long overdue time for Decked Out Dragons. For those who haven't seen this show before, we're gonna take a look at 5 dragons and we're going to positively critique them. Anything can get factored in, from their name to their familiar. So without further ado, let's get started. Our first dragon today is Kamui, the male Codal, owned by Flight Rising user Mudsdale. And I didn't just pick him out because his color palette and apparel are very autumny, but it was absolutely a factor. Look at how good those colors are coordinated. They're all variants of oranges and yellows, with just a little bit of green for good measure. This might partially be because fall aesthetics are naturally very comforting to me, but looking at Kamui makes me feel safe. Kind of like I'm bundled up in a bunch of blankets on a chilly and windy day. I'm sure I don't need to say this, but Iridescent, Facet, and Runes are also an amazing gene combo. Next up, we've got Andurzo, the female guardian, owned by Flight Rising user LikeOwn1765. Contrasting with our last dragon, which only had a little bit of green going on, this dragon is almost full green. I'd even call her neon green, which is accentuated really well by the dark color of her wings. More than anything, I really want to commend the combination of the nature and wind festival apparel from across the years. It's like they were meant to go together. It's also awesome that her familiar pretty much mirrors her color palette, and even though her genes are basic across the board, her look is anything but. And here's Daeun, the female pearl catcher, owned by Flight Rising user Disillusionist. This dragon makes me think of spiders, crows, black roses, and Skyrim all at once, and that is not a bad thing. I'm not usually the biggest fan of the stained tertiary gene, but this has got to be one of the prettiest and most effective uses of it I've ever seen. And that use basically boils down to making a dark dragon even darker, which also really highlights her eye color and her pearl. Overall, Daeun would be a prime contender for any kind of Halloween dress-up contest. And then there's Lonnie, the female bog sneak, owned by Flight Rising user Fitz. Another dark dragon, but this one has splashes of lighter colors all throughout her body. You can never go wrong with double obsidian and a bright tertiary. And in this particular case, it works so well for her astronomy and beacon in the night vibes. If Flight Rising was some kind of RPG, this dragon would be the NPC heading the observatory. On a completely different note, I also want to praise the fact that for as much apparel as she's wearing, her natural look still has plenty of room to shine. And last but definitely not least, we have Nadia, the female sky dancer, owned by Flight Rising user Almeda. By far, the most interesting thing about this dragon is the fact that her body is pure sepia tone, which I think a lot of people perceive as being so muted that there might as well be no color at all. And while that's at least partially true, it's definitely not true to Nadia. Thanks to her accent and apparel, she's got a healthy dose of pinks, purples, and yellows, which I never would have imagined would come together so well. Basically, this color scheme is a marvel I'm going to keep marveling at. And that wraps things up for today. As always, thanks so much for watching. Sorry about the big gap between episodes. That probably won't happen again. If you're interested in seeing your dragons featured in the future and haven't dropped me your username already, feel free to do so. And for those who are waiting for longer meteor videos, I have one in the works right now. It should be up sometime at the end of the month, so I'll see you guys then.